Take it to the next level.
Good evening and welcome to Fallout Bar, night one at Blackpool, and I am joined by Stott. How you doing, my friend?
Hi, Luke. Good to be back. Yeah, very good, mate. Nice to have a proper tournament in its proper venue without the fear of it being cancelled half the way through. So, yeah, good times, mate.
And as you will see, I am at the venue. Mr. Bars is totally talking to Robbie John Rodriguez. I'm in the bat, so if there's any noise, I do apologise for at the bat. Or I have to move. Stott might have to run solo, but we're certainly going to be here and talking through tonight's actions and get our predictions in for what's going to be a super day of darting action tomorrow with 8 games we've got to look forward to on our only double session of the main match play. However, we do have the double session, of course, on the second Sunday, where we have the women's match play taking place. Just before we get into things, I just want to, first of all, as always, thank our sponsors for this, Betfred, and I do apologise regarding the intro. It was a summer series intro that we had on there. It's just including Betfred. Dobbs having a night off, so I'm taking the reins for tonight. So, Stott, just overall, before we go into the 4 games, your thoughts on the opening night and, as you say, having a real tournament bath on our TV?
I think it was good quality. I think the lowest average was what Cal and Rids had a bit of a howler, but everybody else played well, played to a good standard you'd expect in a match play. The one thing that surprised me is the one-sidedness of 3 of the games, which they said that at Sky, the sort of intro back in the day, used to get 10-1s, 10-2s, and then what do we get? We get Madder, Razma, and Cal and Red both getting battered within about half an hour of saying it. But yeah, no, I think the quality was really good. I think they found their match sharpness again.
Yeah, and we'll dive straight into the first game. So proceedings opened up in Blackpool with a win for Twistoff Ratoisty, who got the better of Stephen Bunting. But early on in this one, it was quite a close affair.
Yeah, not a bad game. I feel like there was about 3 or 4 fixtures in what was a great draw that people are looking at thinking it's not really going to be an exciting one. This wasn't actually that bad. I think, as you say, close earlier on. I don't actually feel like Ratajski raised his game after the break. I feel like it was just Stephen Bunting dipped, whereas Ratajski was able to maintain his level. And I think what won it for him was that bit of magic when Bunting hit an 11 data, and then straight away Ratajski answers it straight back with the next leg. Bit of quality that I wasn't expecting to see from Ratajski. I thought this was going to be a slog, 10-7 either way. But Ratajski really showed his quality, showed he was a step up over Bunting tonight.
Yeah, you've picked out, there's probably 2 parts in the game for me that really stood out as a sort of turning points, one of which was as you've said, the back-to-back 11 darters, one from Bunting, one from Ratoisty. But there was that 1-6-7 that Bunting had to level the scores at 5 apiece down into the break and just missed the ball for that. I think it was 1-6-7, might have been 1-6-1. Whereas then Ratoisty just cleaned up the lead. But for the first time in the lead, actually got the 2-lead advantage. And as you said, Bunting then dipped. But we saw Ratoisty come out and win 2 leads back-to-back straight after that, 4 leads on the spin. And for me, it was that little part that had that run that was probably the game changer as such, until you thought Bunting's fighting back here. It's now 8-5, but the 11 darts from Ratoisty was, well, we thought Bunting's was good, but Ratoisty's was very special on the return.
Yeah, just killed all the momentum, and really, I think it killed the game. Really, it wasn't really going to turn into a match after that. It was just Ratajski for the win. And I was looking at this just quickly beforehand. Both of these guys are defending a lot of money at the end of this year. Bunting has 100k at his Worlds, and Ratajski himself has £50,000 to defend. So a run here really could help back some of that up. So this actually might have been a bigger game for both of them than you might have thought at the start.
Yeah, we will come on to obviously people who are defending a lot of money at this tournament, as we've got another player who's defended an awful lot. And if you see on the rankings that are projected, taking away the match play 2 years ago, a certain person's dropped about 10 places, but we'll move on to him when we talk about his Dame very shortly. Just before we move on to Dame number 2, let's hear a short clip from Christopher Toasty.
At the moment,
I think it's close to the my best game, because I back in this moment not so far to this position. I feel good now. I feel really good with my darts. I feel I know I can play very good now.
Yeah, we've seen an indifferent probably Christopher Toasty, but he seems to start he's feeling very confident going into now the rest of the match play after then a win over what was probably a 50-50 tie before we got the Dame underway.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people had strong feelings about this game. A lot of people actually gave a lot of disrespect to Ratajski, more so about his throw breaking down, really worried that he could have a Glenn Durney-like slip, that his action would just break down. But there's no sign of that today that I could see. So, yeah, Ratajski looked confident, played competent, and looked pretty much like Ratajski did in his prime.
Yeah, hard to disagree there. Just there's question marks with Ratajski always. He never seems to be able to follow up that good TV performance. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can do that against the current World Match Play champion on, I believe, will be Tuesday night. But moving on to Dame number 2, you've already touched upon this one, start around the one-sided affair, and it was Dimitri Vandenberg who won 10-2. And I know you've alluded to the performance of Talon Ridge that wasn't to the standard we've seen on the Pro Tour. But switching that around, looking at Dimitri, close to 105 for the majority of the day, finished on a 100 average, 71% on the checkouts. There is something about Dimitri Vandenberg and Blackpool that he always seems to be able to perform on that stage.
I think he's going to win the full thing. I think he's an absolute monster when it comes to this. First to 11, who's he got next? It'll be Robbie John.
It'll be Robbie John, yeah.
I think if Robbie John doesn't take him out, I don't think anyone is going to take him out over those 16 legs. He was relentless today. Not against nothing. Callum Riz's action just broke down it. Way too many stray darts to really put him under pressure. But I don't think it mattered at all. I think we just ignore Callum Riz for a second. Dimitri Vandenberg was an absolute monster. That 137 to win the match when you don't really have any need to do it. You just know that Riz isn't playing well. Treble 19, treble 16, double 16. Honestly, wasn't a moment where I thought he was going to miss in the entire game. I think he's the man to beat at this tournament.
Yeah, from someone who's always sometimes a toss quite relaxed, it seems to be it's to relax even further when it comes to Blackpool. As like it says, we've seen him in the final the past 2 years. We've seen him pick up the title 2 years ago. One thing we mentioned about the rankings, looking at the projected rankings already, obviously that's before darts thrown. Dimitri Vandenberg currently, with the win tonight, sits at 16th place in the world, which is a huge drop considering. And I think prior to that, you're looking, he was in the top 8. So it'll be it's about 150. I think he's defending. What was the prize money 2 years ago? So it's a lot of pressure on Dimitri's shoulders. Defending a title is different to defending money, as we see with the rankings, but it doesn't seem to have had effect on the Dream Maker, don't they?
No, I don't get the sense that he thinks about anything like that at all. I think he just goes about every single dart on its own, let alone a leg, let alone a match. I think he just visualizes his target, goes to edit, and doesn't think about the bigger picture at all. I think he is the machine. I know it's not his nickname, it belongs to James Wade, but I genuinely don't think he'll be fazed by what we're talking about right now. I think he'll just go into every match thinking he's going to win, thinking he's going to hit that target. And I genuinely believe he's not going to sink down to that. I actually think he'll extend his ranking. I think he'll win the extra £50,000 at the end of it because it's 200 grand this year. I don't think he'll be fazed with the outside noise.
Right, we are going to hear from Dimitri from a short clip. Just before we do, shout out to everyone in the chat room and is tuning in. I will pop up a few comments as they come through and your predictions when we get them through. But for now, let's hear from the Dream Maker.
There was in the first round. Right now,
there's no pressure anymore. I've done my job. I managed to get through to the first round, and I think that's the hardest one in the whole tournament. No. I've got to do my job. Simple as that. Doesn't matter who I play. I'm in a happy feeling, guys. I'm not scared of anybody. I've played Johnny before. I beat him. I played Roby before. I beat him. Me and Roby go a long way back, but it's business, innit? It's just business, so...
It sounded like someone knew that he might be drawing, he might be letting Roby John in there, because obviously this was Dame number 2. It seemed like that he fancied Roby to push Johnny close, and we'll move on to that Dame shortly. But before we do, Dame number 3, we had our current world match play champion, our Betfred world match play champion, Peter Wright, come to the stage. And what a start by Peter Wright. And that, for me, seemed to be the difference in this one, with a 10-4 victory for Peter Wright. That 5-0 start, the opener, it seemed like there's a bit of nerves from Rasmus, and Peter Wright duly punished those.
Well, yeah, you played the defending champion in the world number 1 on your debut in Blackpool, and then what you go and do? You give him a 5-leg head start on top of that. It's not really the game plan you would go for. I think Rasmus was a little bit unlucky. I think the second leg, I genuinely felt there was a lot on it, because Peter Wright opened with the 13 darter on throw. There's not really much you can do. But that second leg was a real horrible leg from both of them. And if Rasmus could just have got in at one each, he might have been able to make it a match. But I think they said it in commentary. Peter Wright got to 6-2 up and then just thought he'd won it. Just started chucking darts. It started chasing the 9-9, hitting outside the board on 3-3. Just lost focus. And I think if it had gotten closer, it just would have readjusted and won it anyway. I think, yeah, as you say, I agree, boys. 5-0, it was not going to recover.
Yeah, it's the nerves on that stage, and also coming out and hearing the Torrent match play world champion, the world champion, and all that while you stand on stage. And let me tell you, if you are coming to Blackpool at any stage and you get to hear that Warton with a sellout crowd at Blackpool, it is freaking amazing. The hairs on my arms were up when Peter Wright was coming up. I was lucky enough to be on the balcony as Peter Wright was making that Warton, and my God, the atmosphere. So if you've just had your Warton, you're feeling a bit nervous, I can understand why the nerves tonight a little bit harder, because that was a standout reaction from the crowd, who I thought were fantastic throughout the night.
Did you see that Peter Wright was getting a bit emotional at the start of the game because of that? I couldn't believe it. How many times has Peter had that reception, and yet that one tonight was the one that got him? It's unreal after all these years.
But it was a very, very good Peter Wright performance. 97 average, for me, probably does a bit of unjust, because, like you says, if he would have carried on that early form, that could have been a lot higher than what we've seen with the 97. But very good performance into round 2. Got Ratoisty in the second round, and I think he'll be feeling very, very confident going into the rest of this week with that opening
do you think so,
performance.
Lee? Do you think he's confident? Have you not heard his interview before it, after it, and the one we have?
I certainly have. I certainly have. And we will just hear a little clip from Peter Wright, and trust me, this is a very, very good clip.
The main challenge is me. If that's the only person that can upset me winning this tournament. I don't care who comes through the other side. It'll just be opponent, and it'll be a losing opponent.
Stott, do you think he's lacking confidence?
Yeah, it's not the same player. Not the same player he was. What's unbelievable, just quickly before we move on, is I thought he was incredibly cocky and confident last year. He somehow managed to up it the level this year. I didn't think that was possible, but here we are. Hope we can back it up again.
And then we seem to have gone through the games pretty quickly. One, because we've only got a short period of time. However, we have got a lot of time to talk about game number 4. Because did anyone see this result coming? And that is not disrespect to Robbie John Rodriguez, but the form that Johnny Clayton's performed on the stage over the past 18 months. What a game of darts by both players. But all the credit must go to Robbie John Rodriguez. On debut, on a Saturday night, sellout crowd, as I've mentioned a couple of times, to put that level of performance in with the normal style of play, giving a bit to the crowd to get them involved in the game. What a performance from the young Austrian. Can I still call him the young Austrian, by the way? It seems to have been on the scene for a very long time.
Yeah, we've just spoken about a 52-year-old world champion. You can call Robbie a youngster. But yeah, it's that point there that I think is crucial. It's the debut factor of Robbie John. It's not the form, because I would just about edge Robbie John over Johnny Clayton in recent times. And stage performance, Clayton looked absolutely knackered at the World Series. So coming into it, there was question marks. But yeah, to show that level of bottle from Robbie John, he has that snatch in his action that sometimes comes into play when he sometimes gets a little distracted. I think it happened maybe 3-4 times tonight, and with the level of pressure that must have been on him, that is unbelievable. To fire it, and by the way, how good was the 156? To answer
Yeah.
the 130.
Yeah, we spoke about the bunting, and I've already forgot who we beat already. Because Retisti and bunting
Yeah.
down. We spoke about the 11 dart lead responded by the 11 dart lead in this one. Johnny Clayton closes the gap just one to make it 5-4. But then Robert John Rodriguez firing in that 156 at that time, going into a break as well after you've just had a 130 against you. How crucial was that?
And it was beautiful as well, right in the middle of the treble 20 for both of them, and then the double 18 as well, right in the centre. Perfect darts as well, and that's after being 3-2 down in the first session. And he was averaging 108 or something like that in the first session. And it was 3-2 down, and showed the bottle to come back and win that game. So performance-wise, mentality-wise, and just all around, just mentality-wise, it's just been absolutely a perfect performance to deal with. A certain owner of Online Darts' tip for one of my.
I was sat by him at the time, and trust me, there's frustration there. There's frustration there. And just because he was his tip to go on, which is normally my tip to go early, so it's nice that someone else has that. Someone else has that. Just a word on Johnny Clayton before we hear from Robert John Rodriguez. The downfall tonight seemed a lot to be that double 16. It just wasn't the Johnny Clayton. We saw it, like we said, the 113. We saw a couple of double 16s, but there was a 2 missed in the back end of the down that were crucial for him to close the gap to 8-7. There was other misses on there. All we've done for 18 months is praise the ferret. And, one performance where Robert John Rodriguez has put that in and he was, like says, he was outstanding. So we don't have to do too critical on Johnny. Do you think it's just one bad day and he comes better then, or are the signs that maybe that pressure of now going into tournaments as one of the favourites to maybe playing on his shoulders a little?
I think, personally, it's just a little dip in form and a little bit of fatigue with just the relentless nature. I think it's going to come back pretty soon, just with a little bit of rest and a little bit of practice away from the tournament. I think that Johnny Clayton is going to recover. Because that performance was really good. Like, it's not as if Johnny Clayton turned up and played badly. We haven't mentioned his eye yet, because I don't think it was a major factor. I don't think he looked as if he was playing like majorly against any injury or that. So yeah, I think it's just he was slightly off it, and that's why he missed those double 16s at crucial times that he wouldn't last year. But I don't think there's major panic.
Yeah, we spoke to Johnny. We was lucky enough to speak to him a couple of hours before his game, and his words was, "It looks worse than it feels." So it is one of those sometimes, especially on a TV, cameras in front of you, it will enlarge it and make it a look bigger. So for him, it wasn't that. It wasn't something like says to talk about in regards to the performance, because let's be honest, he played a very good game of darts. It was just not to the level that we've seen Johnny Clayton perform. And he was up against opponents who fed off the crowd, who was so key. So we are going to hear from Robbie John Rodriguez. Now, this is one clip that I haven't heard, so I'm interested to hear what Robbie John's got to say. And for all our clips that we're showing you, all the interviews will be available on our YouTube channel, 3 of which are available. So please go and listen to those. Obviously, after we're finished, you want to listen to me and stop for a few more minutes in our predictions, and we want to hear yours in the chat room as well. But let's hear from Robbie John Rodriguez now.
If I play good, yes. If not, the better player wins. But it depends on the day. I know that I can beat everybody. It doesn't matter who it is. Number 1, number 2, number 3 of the world. I don't mind, and I don't mind playing them. It depends on the day how they perform or how I perform. I give my best. If they don't, I try to win. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is one of those that we know the levels that it to perform. We've seen him perform. For me, a lot of these standout performances have probably come in the World Cup in the individual short games. Obviously, we're in an extended format to those games here in Blackpool, but that performance tonight, he's just beat Johnny Clayton. Dimitri Vandenberg is probably someone we're not talking about as one of the favourites down into this. However, that performance tonight moves him into that, and with Johnny Clayton dropping out, that would be a bit. We're not going to predict, by the way, stop, but that game on Tuesday, that would be electric if Robbie John turns up, because we know Dimitri performs on that stage.
I'm going to enjoy that one because it's two contrasting styles. When they got on the walk on, they're both quite boisterous, and boy, didn't Robbie John milk it tonight in a walk on. I really enjoyed to see him taking his time. But we've spoken about Dimitri keeping it calm, no emotion, just going for it. Robbie John, complete opposite, wants to get the crowd involved, wants to do the exhibition shots, and so I'm going to really enjoy that ice versus fire on Tuesday night. And I would back Dimitri. I know you said don't predict it, but we'll go with that.
It's hard not to say that he's going to go and win another game on the Blackpool stage, because my daddy loves it on there, doesn't he? So moving on to Sunday, and we will now get our predictions in on a Super Sunday, and trust me, it's a Super Sunday. For me, one of the best afternoon sessions we have ever seen
100%.
on paper. And that evening session is the most difficult quarter, the quarter of death, shall we call it, on the evening. So Super Sunday, trust me, is going to happen in Blackpool. There is going to be some fantastic darts. So we will go into our predictions now. Just getting the names up in front of me. So just your storyline on the start. So Dirk van Duijvenbode versus Ryan Searle to open up Sunday afternoon. It's not a bad way to start, let me tell you. Who comes through in that one, mate?
It must be the best opener on a Sunday ever. I'm going to go 10-6 Van Duijvenbode. I think he's a clear favourite in this. I think he's going to explode.
I'm just wondering how much that Wharton will take out of him on that stage, because I believe it's a sellout crowd then on a Sunday afternoon, but it deserves because of that. And like it says, I've never seen anyone get onto the stage before his name's finished being called out, as Dirk does. He happens to be so quick that he's there already. And you're going for, did you say 10-6, Dirk?
Duck, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go with you. I just think the current stage form of Dirk is better than Ryan Searle. And I think that Dirk van Duijvenbode gets the win. But I'm going to go 10-8. I think Searle can push him a bit more than what you're suggesting. However, I do fancy Dirk to get over the line, but there should be 180s in that game. 180s the law from both Dirk and Ryan Searle. Moving on to game number 2, we have current UK Open champion Danny Noppert against the most recent Pro Tour winner in Brendan Dolan. As we said, Super Sunday. That's game number 2. Where are you down in that one, Stop?
You know, if Brendan Dolan hadn't just won his tournament, I would be going for about 10-3 to Danny Noppert. But I still think Danny wins it, and I'll go 10-5.
I think we're here for a long Sunday. I really do think we're here for a long Sunday. Just a store that we had on a previous one. Kieran's done for 10-8. Ryan Searle. So the opposite of what I went with in the Dirk win, which is probably means it's going to be right. For this one, I don't think the style suits Danny Noppert. I know he's not the quickest, but Brendan Dolan is one of the slowest players that we've got in this. 11-9, Danny Noppert. As I said, we're here for a long Sunday afternoon. I'm going 11-9. I do think Danny Noppert that's off the line. Torrent, like says, stage performances for Danny Noppert. It looks like he could have a deep run this week, and he comes through that 11-9 for me. Now, this one, what are we going to have in this game? Derry Anderson versus Daryl Durney. We've seen brilliance from both. We've seen not so brilliance from both as well recently. Which way does this one go, mate?
It's just so unfair to predict a Gary Anderson game. You just have no idea when he'll turn up. But I don't think he'll turn up tomorrow. I think this is the beginning of the end of seeing Gary Anderson and about the TV stages. I'm actually... I'll say 10-7. I think he'll just get pipped out in a low 90s game. But I think Daryl Gurney wins 10-7.
Just so you know, Kieran's extending the Sunday even more than what I'm going, because he's down for 12-10, Gary Anderson.
Yeah, at least that's Anderson Gurney. That'll be fun. That'll be a good one.
My heart says Gary Anderson's still got one big run in him. Is it this week? No, I think Daryl Durney, that's it. However, let me tell you all a little secret. I'm sat by Phil Bars tonight, and Phil Bars is telling me that he expects Gary Anderson to dive very deep this week. He won't mind me sharing that with you. He's got to have someone else, because he's Johnny Clayton. His prediction's already done, so he's got to have someone else, hasn't he? But he's telling me Daryl Durney. I think Daryl Durney gets over the line. Again, it's hard to say there'll be a one-sided affair on Sunday afternoon or Sunday at all. But this one, I think, will be about 10 sits. I'm going to go for Daryl Durney to get over the line. And the final game on Sunday afternoon is... How is Michael Smith on Sunday afternoon? It's Michael Smith versus Andrew Dilding. Michael Smith has been in some incredible form. It's dipped slightly recently, but generally in 2022 he's been in some very, very good form. But Andrew Dilding got his taught hard back, and he has fired this year on the Pro Tour. Can he do it on the Blackpool stage?
Yeah, first, just very quickly, I agree. I think this full session is better than the Monday night one, so I don't understand how they did that either. But I think Michael Smith scrapes over the line here. I'm going to go extra time for this one. I think 12-10 to Michael Smith. I think Gilligan gives him a big scare, but Billy survives it and goes on.
Do you not want us to have a break between Sunday afternoon and Sunday night? Are we just going to play through 8 games straight away? Michael Smith wins this. Not with ease. 10 sits. 10 sits, I'm thinking. Yeah, about 10 sits more. Just on there, another one. He seems to play well on the stage. We've seen him go deep a couple of times. I think he gets it over the line. And then we move on to a absolutely mammoth Sunday evening. And then sell out in Blackpool. But I'm sure if you haven't got a ticket, you'll be tuning in, because what a session it is. And you are opening up with the Rockstar against the Heaters. Joe Cullen takes on Damon Heta at 7:30. Stott, how do you pick a winner from this one? Premier League runner-up and Damon Heta, who is the current World Cup champion.
No, this is an absolute nightmare. Like, Joe Cullen has been involved in a quarter-final run before, where he was just picked with Gary Anderson, but he was not also involved in a whitewash against Ian White one of the years. So I just have no idea where to predict him. So I'm going to flip-flop, and I'm going to say Damon Heta does nick it. Actually, not nick it. I'm going to say 10-4 Damon Heta. I think Cullen has a bit of a hill here. I've just completely changed that in the last 10 seconds. Just have a feeling. I just changed that.
I've got a feeling start at 20 past 7 tomorrow night. You'll text me then. I've changed my mind, and then it's named because that can happen a lot of times throughout it's for tomorrow. There's this match play draw. This first round is just horrid for a lot of these, and this is probably one of the most difficult draws as a seed to that Damon Heta. So, and then style doesn't suit Joe Cullen in this one.
No,
I think he does enough. I still think Rockstar does enough. I think we go deep. I think it goes 10-8 to the Rockstar, but it's a tough one to call. It's a very, very tough one to call. Moving on to game number 2, we have James Wade versus Martin Luthman. A fan of the show who joins in quite a lot when he's not on the board. So we won't be too critical at all. But no, honestly, Martin Luthman's done fantastic to what we've seen on the Euro Tour, all that stage experience. Will that help him tomorrow night? And can he get a win over the machine?
I think I'm going to predict what a lot of people will predict. He will play well. He will do most of the things right, but that extra little 1% that James Wade just knows how to do will get him over the line. And I'm going to say 10-5 James Wade just does the business and just palms him off with a mid-90s. Standard born prediction.
So you're predicting James Wade to beat someone with a lower
Yes.
average than what they've probably got.
Exactly. Just
And
born prediction.
If Dobby's listening, he will not like that one little bit. I'm sure if he's not, he will listen back, and you will have a strongly worded text message
So true.
tomorrow night's host, or he might come on and talk all about your prediction. However, James Wade, Martin Luthman, James Wade, I can't go against him currently,
Yeah.
especially with his draw. I think he gets over the line then. James Wade doesn't tend to win games as comfortable as what you've predicted. On debut, we could see, sort of anything from a debutant. We've seen the performance we've seen from Roby John. We've seen someone who's been on here before in Talon Ridge's performance he has done. I think Martin Luthman can put in a performance. I think he can cause a shot. I think it's just a little bit.
Oh, you want it in the last minute?
Too much. Yes, I am. I'm
Yes.
10-8 James Wade. Close game, Wade takes it. Experience counts. I just think in this one, the start is crucial for him to get off the line. Right, just got to rush through this one. And I apologise, we've got to rush through this one. Michael Vandenbergh versus Adrian Lewis.
I think MVG 10-7 injury holds up and Lewis doesn't quite make it.
Yeah, just a quick Kieran's asked around the fitness of MVG. We're told that he's fit and raring to go. We've seen him back. We've seen him play. He's had a little break. Social media told you that he was in, I believe, Ibiza for a little break. But I know that board. He has been on that board and he has been practicing. So, what was your scoreline, sorry, mate?
10-7.
10. This is the most open one, I think. I'm down 10-5. Sorry, the biggest margin. I'm on 10-5 MVG. I think we see a dominant MVG performance, and I have to see we in getting off the line. And then the final game of this Super Sunday session, Luke Humphries versus Nathan Aspinall. Can the inform man out of those two, Luke Humphries, get over the line? Or will, once that walk-on happens with Nathan Aspinall, we know what he can perform?
I was going to put Aspinall on for the full thing, completely bottled it when I seen this draw. And I'm going to say Luke Humphries wins the sudden death leg. The last leg decider, Luke Humphries just pips the Asp.
Man. Don't ever draw.
Mate, I know.
It's hard to bat against Luke Humphries, but I'm down to. I just think when he's on that stage, we see something better from Nathan Aspinall. 10-7, Nathan Aspinall. I don't think we go all the way, but I do think we're at a point where it's maybe 6 apiece, 7 apiece, and we just see that break from the Asp or something key happen in the game, and it just spins. So it's a very, very tight affair, but we don't get the sudden death left, but we get a 10-7, 10-8 type of win from Nathan Aspinall. That is all done from us. Kieran has fired in all his predictions, and this one, he's extending my Sunday night as well as my Sunday day with Luke Humphries 12-10. But trust me, if we see the storylines around what we're predicting, Kieran and everyone else who was thinking tomorrow, we are in for a very long day. Which means if we're in for a very long day, we are in for a great Fallout bar tomorrow night where Dob will be returning as the host. Start just before we go. Thank you very much for jumping on and joining me on what has been, for me, a very good opening night.
Yeah, I agree. Good benchmark. I think it will get better, mate.
Yeah, see it only getting better. As always, thank you for everyone who's joined in the chat room, everyone who's listening at home and joining us at this late hour. Also, a massive thank you for Betfred, who are the tournament sponsors and also our sponsors for the Fallout bar for the rest of the week. So any odds or any bets that you're having, please go off to Betfred as they have specials going all week. As you can see, the hour of a sponsor at the moment, Winmau, Red Dragon and Modus. Thank all those for the support, and I hope everyone has a very good, is it Saturday night or rest of the Saturday night or Sunday morning now, and that's ready for our 1 o'clock session tomorrow. And remember, just before I go, all the interviews are available on our YouTube page. 3 of them were on there before I come live. I believe the Roby one will be on there if it isn't already. PB's working hard in the background to make sure that is up and live. So once then, thank you very much all for joining. And if you've not already, please subscribe to us on YouTube and all the social media networks. I don't need to run through them all. You know what they all are. So you'll be joined by Dob tomorrow, Stott. Thanks very much, and good night.
See you there.
Level, 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 take it to the next level.